Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well and welcome to another complete dinosaur species guide. This video will feature one of the newest additions to Jurassic World Evolution 2, the Australovenator. This dinosaur was a fast and agile medium-sized carnivore that lived in present-day Australia during the late Cretaceous period around 99 to 93 million years ago. Characterized by a lightweight frame, extremely sharp teeth, and flexible arms used for grabbing, Australovenator was perfectly built for stalking and running down prey. It was first known from fossil remains which were described rather recently in 2009 by Australian paleontologist Scott Hucknall, although additional descriptions and analysis continue to be published today. On that same initial fossil site, Australovenator remains also contain fossils of a theropod called Diamantinosaurus, a rare instance in which two dinosaurs were found at the same time. Now, with recent studies and discoveries, Australovenator is now known as the most complete predatory dinosaur discovered in Australia. As mentioned earlier, this video will feature a complete species profile on the southern hunter and then feature an attempt at recreating its original environment in an enclosure. So for those who like to skip ahead, I added some timestamps for you to click. For everyone else, let's begin. Australovenator lived in the Winton Formation in present-day Queensland, Australia, and remains to this day the most complete skeleton of any carnivorous dinosaur from Australia. As mentioned earlier, this dinosaur lived during the late Cretaceous period and based on its fossil remains has been estimated to have been about 20 feet long, stood at around 6.5 feet tall, while weighing up to 1,100 pounds. Australovenator belonged to the Megaraptor family, a group of fairly mysterious predatory dinosaurs that consistently confuse people since they were first discovered, as they tend to be a taxonomical nightmare. Study of its fossils have also brought similarities and comparisons between the Raptor from Japan and Megaraptor from South America, and for this reason, Australovenator is usually referred to as a Megaraptor bipedal carnivore. As a Megaraptor, the Australovenator was a relatively lightweight predator and was nicknamed the Cheetah of its time due to its extremely light frame that was built for speed and would have allowed it to be the fastest apex predator in its environment. It also had extremely flexible hands as well, more flexible than other theropods, and almost are able to make the infamous bunny hands posture that you see in the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. This infamous bunny hands posture is something that Megaraptors could not do, and if they tried to do so, their arms would have probably broken. These flexible hands were accompanied by 3 sickle-shaped claws that have been estimated to be as long as 6 inches and would have allowed Australovenator to grasp and hold onto prey during the hunt. Additionally, the slender shape of its skull further reinforces the evidence that this dinosaur had a specialization towards prey and capture using its arms and hands. With very well-preserved hand and foot remains, Australovenator has been made a topic of various research papers studying the dynamics of theropod appendages. Some studies have concluded that Australovenator's flexibility, facilitated by a combination of traits in both primitive and advanced theropods, played a role in capturing prey, giving it the ability to grab prey towards its chest to make it easier for its weak jaws to disembowel its prey. However, some studies also show that the extremely strong foot bones found with extensive signs of stress indicate that Australovenator also used its feet to kick at prey, similar to modern emus today. This would have greatly bruised and damaged prey, potentially even breaking bones and causing internal bleeding and organ damage. And while its jaws were rather weak, they were still filled with sharp teeth that were capable of holding onto prey. Numerous theropod fossils found throughout Australia have been found with Australovenator's teeth in them, indicating that they were rather weak and that they would sometimes try to hunt larger prey. It is still inconclusive whether Australovenator hunted in packs. While some paleontologists argue that since there were enough small prey in its environment, there was no need to form packs. In fact, the first Australovenator fossils were found alongside Diamantinosaurus, a 50-foot long theropod, indicating that Australovenator may have been scavenging and lived on its own. Australovenators might have gone for smaller prey and reserved the large dinosaurs such as Diamantinosaurus for scavenging. Nevertheless, we know very little about Megaraptorian behavior. Usually, pack hunting is a very advanced behavior that usually requires mammalian levels of intelligence, but that's not to say 2 or more Australovenators couldn't or wouldn't attack the same dinosaur at the same time. There just simply isn't enough evidence to determine if pack hunting was plausible for Australovenator or Megaraptors for that matter. Australovenator went extinct around 93 million years ago, and most paleontologists theorize that it was due to a rapidly changing climate that altered the environment that it lived in. It was unable to adapt to the new environment that shaped the landscape that brought upon soil erosion and droughts, and it ultimately went extinct towards the end of the late Cretaceous period. In 2005 in Queensland, Australia, paleontologist Sander Muir stumbled upon an unusual looking fossil and quickly got the Australian Age of Dinosaur Museum involved. This dinosaur that the bone belonged to was nicknamed Matilda, after a famous Australian song, and it later turned out to be Diamantinosaurus. This Diamantinosaurus specimen was found in 2006, and a second dinosaur, the Australovenator, was found in the same bone bed shortly after. The second specimen was named AODF 604, but was affectionately nicknamed Banjo, after Banjo Petersen, an Australian bush poet, journalist, and author. He wrote many ballads and poems about Australian life, focusing particularly on rural and outback areas. After years of studying banjo, paleontologist Scott Hucknall of the Queensland Museum described the Australovenator to the scientific community in 2009. The part of the holotype as it was initially described, which are held at the Australian Age of Dinosaur Museum of Natural History, consist of left teeth, partial forelimbs and hind limbs, a partial right hip bone, parts of gastralia, and some ribs. These would become the holotype species, which was named Australovenator wintonensis. The first name translates to southern hunter in Latin. The Latin word australis translates to southern, while venator translates to hunter. The second name, wintonensis, refers to the nearby city of Winton, which is why the name ends in ensis, because in Latin, ensis translates to originating in. So in full translation, the Latin name of Australovenator translates to southern hunter of Winton. As it is a relatively new find, the process of excavating the Matilda site is still ongoing, and papers describing new elements of the holotype are still being published. New additional arm elements of the holotype were described in 2012, then the leg elements were described in 2013, while some teeth were described in 2015, all led by Australian paleontologist Dr. Matt White. By this time, Banjo's skeletal makeup contained mostly complete arms and hands, some leg and foot bones, several ribs, and part of a jaw with some teeth. American paleontologist Gregory Scott Paul also got to study Banjo, and based on his research on the complete specimen, he estimated that Australovenator was a 20-foot long theropod with a body weighing up to 1,100 pounds. As such, it was placed in the group of large-clawed carnivorous dinosaurs called megaraptors, and as mentioned earlier, this group has proven difficult to place on the dinosaur family tree. Some paleontologists think that they are closely related to Spinosaurus, others say that they are closer to Allosaurids, and yet others believe that the closest relatives are Tyrannosaurus and Maniraptors. However, other paleontologists ally the Megaraptorans with Tyrannosauridae, the group that includes Tyrannosaurus rex and a plethora of other more primitive forms. If so, there is a chance that Australovenator had feathers, probably like those of modern-day flightless birds, because Tyrannosaurids belong in the group of Coelurosauria, and all Coelurosaurids are known to have at least primitive feathers covering their bodies. Furthermore, in recent years, some claw fossils and tracks have been discovered that have been theorized to belong to Australovenator. As the years go by, paleontologists hope to uncover more Australovenator material so as to be able to fully understand this theropod. Now, let's talk about the environment that the Australovenator lived in to give us a better idea of how to replicate its natural habitat. The Winton environment was a river basin next to the former inland Eromanga Sea. This was a highly forested ecosystem with extensive swamps, creeks, lakes, and estuaries leading back to the sea. This extensive network of waterways meant that different types of sedimentary rocks such as sandstone, siltstone, and claystone would make up most of the terrain. Additionally, the dense vegetation made it a hotbed for herbivores, which were all sources of prey for Australovenator. This dense vegetation would have mostly been made up of ferns, ginkgos, and several types of angiosperms and gymnosperms that would have allowed it to support different types and species of herbivorous dinosaurs that Australovenator would prey on. Australovenator would have been the top apex predator of its ecosystem, able to eat a wide variety of small and medium-sized dinosaurs in its environment, potentially even larger sauropods if it was able to work in groups. Many millions of years ago, Australia was part of a large landmass called Gondwana. As the supercontinent broke apart because of plate tectonics, Australia's dinosaurs became isolated and evolved differently from their counterparts in other areas of the world. As a result, unique and diverse Aussie dinosaur species existed during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. Some of the dinosaurs that coexisted with Australovenator included a number of ornithischians that are still waiting to be described. There has also been at least one ankylosaur, with some paleontologists suggesting that it might belong to the 10-foot-long minmi, but that is yet to be determined. In addition, there was the large pterosaur Pterodraco and a narrow-snouted crocodilomorph Isisfordia, along with a number of unnamed turtles, fish, and lizards. Other herbivores include the Titanosaurus like the Wintonotidon, who is known from a few fossil fragments, the Savanosaurus, who is estimated to have reached 50 feet in length, and the already mentioned Diamantinosaurus, another 50-foot-long theropod that also roamed the landscape. Some paleontologists argue that Austrosaurus, another large theropod known from just a few fossil fragments, may have also lived alongside the Australovenator, but that is yet to be determined. Australovenator was a powerful predator, clearly able to take down other similar-sized dinosaurs in its environment without much help. It may have worked in packs in order to bring down dinosaurs much larger than it was, such as the large theropods. However, there is no direct evidence to support that. However, what is interesting is that in the discovery of these Australian theropods, and whether theropod fossils have been found in the Winton Formation, paleontologists also have come across the teeth of Australovenator. But whether the Australovenator simply scavenged the remains of large theropods or hunted them down in large pack is yet to be determined. While no Australovenator has made it to the big screen in the Jurassic Park movie franchise, it has made some brief appearances in the Jurassic Park video game franchise. In the game Jurassic Park 3 Park Builder, one is able to uncover an Allosaurus from Australia. Given that Allosaurus has never been believed to live in Australia, it is likely that this dinosaur is based off Australovenator, as it was once named Allosaurus robustus. While not exactly a game, the Australovenator is mentioned in Jurassic World's Facts app as a predator of minmi, although it is yet to be confirmed if this is the case. Lastly, it was very recently added to the Jurassic World Evolution 2 game through the late Cretaceous pack. Outside of the Jurassic Park franchise, Australovenator also makes an appearance as a playable dinosaur in the video game Pangea Survival. The Australovenator Banjo appears in both fossil and live form in the various documentaries such as Australia, The First 4.5 Billion Years, Australia the Time Traveler's Guide, Dino Stampede, and Monsters of the Outback. And for those who aren't aware, Australovenator was the dwarf allosaur you might remember from childhood and Walking with Dinosaurs, since at the time scientists hadn't come up with a name for it yet. Australovenator is shown attacking a small herd of Lionosaura and killing its female matriarch. It also harassed a herd of Mutaborosaurus and scavenged the carcass from one of them. Hello everyone, welcome to my park as well as the habitat reconstruction attempt for Australovenator. So if you've been following along, we're going to go ahead and nestle Australovenator in between the recently built Chunkingosaurus enclosure as well as the Therizinosaurus enclosure that I did not too long ago. Hey, I wonder where they are. Oh, there they are. They're just hiding. Another one's over there. So yeah, let's go ahead and start working on this enclosure. One thing let's go ahead and do, I want to do an estuary, which is something we haven't done in a while. So I'm going to use this corner of the map to go ahead and add our water. And let's go ahead and add it this way. I do want to leave this part open so that, you know, our nice, fast, agile dinosaurs can run and we can see them take down goats and other prey. So one thing we're going to do is, you know, it's an estuary, so we're going to make like little lines so. Put things here and there, leave little lines. That way it looks like an estuary. So I might just be doing a bit too much. There we go. Nice little thing right there. And if you like, just keep doing so. Just keep doing like that. That way you get nice little estuaries, like little pieces of land in the middle. There you go. Not too much, just a bit here and there. I'm gonna go ahead and put some land here. There we go, another one. So just keep doing that, add a couple. Just try not to, mess up, because it is kind of, takes a bit of practice to get a couple of them. There you go. We'll do that one there. And we'll add another one here. Well, you can split this in half. That would be super dope. There we go. That's pretty cool. Could add one more, would be really nice. Let's see if we can. There we go. Okay, one more, one more. And cut it this way. There we go. And let's actually leave it with a bit of water right here. There we go. Perfect. Okay, now we're getting... Now let's leave it like that. We don't want to add too much water. But there we go. We have our nice little estuary area. And then this part, like I mentioned, is going to be open plains. This nice little area, let's go ahead and just add our live feeder. This is where our goats hopefully can roam around this area and not go all the way over here, so we can see our nice raptors hunt them down this area. But for now, let's go ahead and work on our terrain, which we mentioned there was a lot of sandstone, claystone, and siltstone. So we'll use a combination of, rock, sand, and dirt, and this dark rock as well, more or less represent the various sediments that were around the area. As I mentioned, just kind of Bob Ross it a bit. You kind of want to add these rocks, not too much, just because they're really dark. Now you want to work in with this one, which is a nice gray. Like I mentioned, we're going to Bob Ross it and just do little things here and there. We can even make it smaller, because you do want to leave, patches of grass, of greenery, but at the same time make sure that these parts appear as well. So now we're going to move on to our sand, which is, we want to go ahead and use it here. And just slightly pad the little estuary parts. So yeah, just go ahead and, like I mentioned, just kind of Bob Ross it. If you've seen Bob Ross, you see how he mixes a lot of colors. And at the end, you see the image and it looks right nicely well and blended. So, same sort of idea. You won't see it right away, but once you get the finished look, you'll see how nice it looks. So you see, now as you can see, I'm running out of greens, so we're gonna patch it up with some green here and there. Same way Bob Ross does it. Which is good. We'll leave it like that just because once we add our foliage, that's also going to go ahead and cover a lot of the terrain. But after that, let's go ahead and do our rocks and different types of sediments. So you can use taiga, you can use the temperate, and you can use the tropical rocks. Use all of them in this enclosure. I think it's going to look nice. And as I always do, bunch them together. We can do that. Let's add another one here. Let's go ahead and use some tiger rocks in this middle part right here. And let's go on to temperate rocks, which we can go ahead and kind of spread out a bit more. Lastly, if you want to, which you can, you can represent some claystone, because they're red. You can go ahead and add your desert rocks over here. But then again, we kind of do want to have some plains, so let's go ahead and delete this one. Okay, I think that's good. You can go ahead and add more rocks as you please, but I think that's good. Lastly, let's work on our foliage. In this one, a lot of foliage in the Cretaceous period, the late Cretaceous period. But in this one, let's just stick to ferns, ginkgos, and seed plants. So let's start off with our ginkgos. Let's go ahead and add ginkgos right here. Oh, it took away this part right here. Yeah, I kind of want to leave those rocks there. Make sure that, that they're shown. But let's go ahead and make sure we can get more ginkgos. Perfect. As we mentioned, some seed plants as well. Let's go ahead and add those right here. And let's add those right along here too. Make sure we can see the estuary, so take a bit of them out of the way. And then, you know, you have your conifers, so you can put a bit of forest. Let's go ahead and do that. This forest right here. Not too much, just so that you see a couple of them pop up here and there. You kind of want to have some open space, or at least I do for this enclosure. I want to see them run and take on their prey. Lastly, you have your Temskia, and you can go ahead and just add it, slightly add it along here, our open plains, so that our Australovenator can do some hunting. And let's go away and take these nice tall trees away, because as I mentioned, it's going to be open terrain. So we'll leave it like that. And I think we're good. I mean, if you want to go ahead and add some sidecats, it's up to you. You can always go ahead and add some, you know, leafy climbers, the darker part of the forest, if, you know, since there were dark, dense parts of vegetation in this area. So you can always, you know, put them in the back. You know, we can actually add them right here, you know. Boom, a nice little dark forest area where, you know, it actually looks pretty good, actually. We'll leave it like that. And there we go. In a bit, I'll show you how it looks like with the dinosaurs in there. And you guys let me know what you guys think. The Australovenator is referred to as the cheetah of its time for being a swift, agile hunter armed with sharp, deadly claws and teeth. There is no doubt that Australovenator is a beautiful but deadly addition to your Jurassic Park. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.